the block. And the Blazers win the series for the first time in 14 years.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rip City Rundown. And today's podcast is all about Media Day. It is wrapping up right about now as we're recording this. And yeah, Media Day is a benchmark for the season getting started. It's a benchmark for the offseason because it signals the start of the season. I mean, preseason's about a week away. The regular season in Sacramento is going to kick off in less than a month. And, you know, it's nice to hear the players, the coaches, Joe Cronin, talk about the upcoming season, get a new perspective. It's kind of like we're officially leaving behind last year and all the bad vibes, good vibes in this press conference, good vibes for the season. Is that what you got, Cole? From this?
Yeah, my initial reaction, you know, there's still a couple players still yet to go, but in the people and coaches and media members, just everyone seems happy. You know, it's good vibes compared to coming into the season last year off a tough playoff loss. Dame, his future in Portland uncertain. Neil Olshey, new coach. A lot of just new things last year, but they just didn't feel like the right new things. This year, we've got new players that seem to want to be in Portland. We've got coaches, we've got GMs, we've got presidents. I mean, Dwayne Hankins even spoke a bit, but everyone just seems happy. The vibes are really good. And that's what I think is the most important thing going into this year, because like we've said it over and over on every podcast we've had this offseason, we're actually excited for this year. And I think this one, this press conference and this day kind of just amped that excitement up a little more.
Yeah, I think you could definitely see the excitement from Chauncey. I think him getting a fresh start with this team, kind of like pieces that he's, you know, I feel like this is the first year he really had a say in maybe the offseason, a say in what players he wants to bring in, what culture he wants to establish within the organization. The other thing I noticed, let's just talk about this off the top. The boys are looking big. The boys are looking swole. And in the, you know, Anthony, Nasir, I mean, they all looked like they are in shape, maybe even gained some muscle.
Even Dame, I think, looks a little bigger.
Well, yeah, Dame just looked healthy and happy, which was exciting to see.
Yeah, I think for the most part, Nas looks massive. And, you know, we'll get into just positional, just rotations and stuff like that. But for Nas to look that big and for Nas to, he even just seemed more mature. I don't know if you caught his part of the press conference, because even sometimes it was glitching and turning off every once in a while. Yeah. But Nas seems like a vet. And you hear that from Sharp, like Sharp, when he was asked like who the vets he's going to, it was Nas. Jabari Walker said the same thing. So we'll get into each player and coach and Joe Cronin and kind of what was talked about. But off rip, I thought just appearance wise, they looked pretty big. And before we get into this, before we talk about all the other players and everything that happened in Media Day, I want to quickly plug a little bit of Rip City Rundown stuff. You know, up in the coming weeks, I think now preseason is a week away exactly. So a week and a day away, we'll be dropping these shirts. They're behind me. That's the front and back. If you're listening, you can go to our social medias and we're dropping shirts. We're dropping a website. Big news coming out. So just wanted to continue to remind you guys of that. But I'm super excited to talk about this Media Day. We did a similar press conference after we brought in all the guys in the off season, and that was fun to talk about. So we've got some fun things to talk about today. I don't know how you want to do it. If you want to go in order or kind of just jump around.
We can go in order. It really doesn't matter to me. I think first thing I want to bring up is kind of how you're talking about how, you know, everyone looks bigger. They look more in shape. And I think that's important to note because that is probably number one on Chauncey's priority list coming into the year. I think he said in the press conference last year how in the preseason playing Golden State, playing Phoenix, you know, he thought they had a good summer, thought they had a good camp. And then, you know, you roll into these preseason games and you get run out of the gym. So it's nice to see Chauncey, you know, talk about, we want to be in shape. We want to build a culture here where, you know, you put your work in the summer and you come into camp in shape, not you use camp to get in shape. You know, you're always trying to stay a step ahead in this league. It's hard to win in this league. But I'm most impressed by not only Chauncey talking the talk, but the players looking big, the players looking in shape. That's walking the walk. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, every organization's kind of is going to say the same thing here. Like every GM in Media Day is going to be like, yeah, I think our pickups were great. I think our moves were great. Like no GM's going to go up there and be like, man, I think that guy signed sucks. Like everyone's going to say the same thing. So you got to kind of read between the lines. And honestly, time will tell. Actions speak louder than words. So I did like the fact that everyone looked in shape and ready to go.
And you mentioned that no GM is gonna just blow smoke and say, or
Yeah.
no GM is gonna go up there and say their team is not good and their moves aren't bad, or are bad. But I thought Joe Cronin and Chauncey were very transparent, and I like that about it. Like Joe Cronin was asked, like, what do you think about this team? Do you think this team's good enough? And he said, like, they realize that they are still small and that there's still moves to be made. But Chauncey also said you can't make every move in the offseason in one offseason. And to get the improvements they did, they prioritized what they needed. And that wasn't just getting big players. That wasn't just getting more depth. That was getting guys that truly fit the needs of the Blazers. Jeremy Grant, Gary Payton. Well, Gary Payton, we might have not needed another guard. We needed his defense.
Yep.
So I thought they worded it well. They talked about how their roster isn't complete, but Joe Cronin did say he wants to give these guys a chance and see how good they can do, at least for the first part of the season, before he thinks about making any more moves.
Yeah, and just kind of to piggyback off that point, the direct quote that Joe Cronin said here was, "We know that in order to contend in this league, you have to be super talented and super connected. And I don't think we're either yet, but we have the potential to be. That will probably involve making some moves soon." So again, like you said, I appreciate that Joe Cronin's not satisfied. I think past GMs, not going to name names here, but past GMs for Portland is kind of, you know, in their media
Talked about
day,
how good their moves are,
exactly.
how great they are.
Talked about how great their moves are, talked about how great this team can be. And I like how Joe Cronin is keeping it transparent. I think that's important, not to get expectations too high. Although I do think expectations, Portland fans are smart. We're not going to finish 12th in the West and come back next year and be like, oh, we're supposed to win a championship. Playoffs.
I think just
playoffs.
That goes into the category of like the vibes are just good because people are being transparent. People are talking about connections. Like that was a word that was said all over the press conference today, how Chauncey wants this team to be connected. And then, after the coach says it, every player was pretty much asked, like, do you feel like this team can be really connected? And everyone's like, yeah, we've been here for a month. We've been working hard. Joe Cronin said this is the hardest working team he's seen in his time in Portland, which is, again, that could be kind of his just saying that because he's now the GM, but still the proof was kind of there in what you would see. And even the expectations from the players, like a lot of them were like, we want to just play the best style of basketball we can. We're not worried about wins. We are worried about being a team that other teams don't want to play and playing the brand of basketball that we want to play. So I don't think expectations are too high for anybody. And I think that Blazer fans understand that. And really any form of success, which is basically making the playoffs and then going from there, I think would be kind of where I would expect us to be.
Yeah. And I think Chauncey being able to develop a culture of transparency, developing a culture of competition, not to say the Neil Shea Blazers did not compete, but, I feel like definitely there's a little more like, like veterans, just you get your minutes no matter what, like Carmelo Anthony or Cantor or Norm. Not saying Carmelo didn't deserve those minutes. I'm just saying like, there was no competition there. So I do like the fact that Chauncey is bringing in a culture of competition. He even said here, I'm going to quote him again. It says, "We have 4 guys that are going to start for sure. The big question is the small forward spot." And we'll get into the small forward competition talk later in the pod. But Chauncey says, the way I see it, it's going to play out in camp. There's 3 guys, Josh Hart, Nas, and Justice Winslow. It's not about the best player. It's who plays best with that unit. And I think that's important, that you're not just going ahead and being, okay, Nas, you've been on the team long enough, you're going to get the spot. These 3 guys are supposed to empower each other, make each other better, and having an open competition, I think, does that. I
think that having that competition, just that aspect, not just for the small forward spot, but really in every spot, because even when Drew Eubanks was talking, they were talking about competition between him and Trendon Watford. Just having that competition, having that like lighting a fire under the players, I think will be good. I do want to, let's just go ahead and hop into that starting small forward thing, because obviously nothing was confirmed, but I think most people think that it's probably Nasir's spot. And I've seen just reporters and people from inside the Blazers say that Nas has looked really good this offseason, and it's kind of his spot to lose. But obviously, Justice and Josh both said they want to start because who doesn't? If you had to just go off the vibes and what you were feeling today, do you think it's Nas's spot right now?
Yeah, I think it's Nas's spot. I think Josh Hart has the talent to play the three. I don't necessarily know if he has the size to play the three. And I don't think we want to run a 3-guard lineup, no matter how big Josh Hart is as a guard. I think Nas offers as good as a defender Josh Hart is. I think Nas is obviously, we can all agree, he's more athletic and he's longer, obviously. And he's probably a little more disruptive on defense. They both bring the energy. So it's a good problem to have. But I'm going Nas. I think Josh Hart will be that first guard off the bench.
Yeah.
So
I think that, Josh was asked, because obviously last year he was able to expand his game a ton when he came to Portland because he was really the only good, I don't want to say good player, but he was the number one option once Ant went down. That's why he was dropping that 40 ball one time, and then he was averaging like 20 points a game. But he was asked, do you think you'll have the chance to showcase what you can do like you did last year? And he was like, I hope to, but he was also like, I hope to start. So I think you're going to see him play a ton of minutes this year. He's still going to be a really important piece, but if you bring him off the bench, like we've been talking about, he can showcase what he did last year and just do it with a second unit. And I've said that if he really dives into that 6-man spot, he could probably put up some pretty good numbers off the bench and find himself in some 6-man of the year conversation, maybe.
Yeah, I was almost going to say like Josh Hart and kind of almost take on like a Jordan Clarkson role in Utah, maybe a little less offensive minded. Yeah. Obviously, Clarkson
more all around for sure.
Yeah, but Hart's probably a better defense than Clarkson, obviously. So I'm not comparing them stylistically. I'm comparing them in terms of like their role on the team. I think he can play a bigger role as Clarkson did on Utah.
Yeah, because
I think that'd be valuable for Portland.
Because even those Utah teams, like the reason people would say Josh Hart wouldn't have that role is because you have two really good guards and where are you going to find the minutes? But that Utah team had two good starting guards that were getting a bulk minutes, and Clarkson still found a way to get 6-man of the year. So I'm not saying the expectation for Hart is to get 6-man of the year, but like you said, to have that role, like it's there for the taking.
Yeah.
Even with two elite guards starting in front of him. So
yeah, and then you also have Gary Payton II here. He's listed as a guard. He's probably
he was fun to watch today.
He's a little more versatile, probably, in terms of who he can match up with. But yeah, 4 competent guards all bring different skill sets. But yeah, I think Josh Hart, I think Gary Payton II will all find some substantial minutes in the rotation.
Yeah. Back to a little more of what Chauncey was saying. And we can kind of move into Dame a bit here because this was Dame's. Dame had a couple press conferences over the offseason, and this ties into even the Josh Hart getting a lot of minutes. Chauncey was asked, how do they want to use Dame this year? Like, do they want to overwork him basically?
Right.
And he said he would ideally play him around 34 minutes a game, which obviously is down from Dame's career. Normally he's pushing 40 on a meaningless regular season game, which
I think he averages like 38 over his career. I was doing some stats on Lillard for an article, but I think it's like 38 minutes per game in his career. So yeah, 34, while 4 minutes per game is like, that's not a lot, like over the course of an 82 game season. It's a ton.
He was like, Dame would obviously rather play 42 minutes because he's a competitor. But I think having that, and we've talked about it, like Dame, a lot of people are saying if the Blazers are somehow a top 4 seed, then Dame could get some MVP talks. But I think if the Blazers are a top 4 seed, I don't think Dame is playing and putting up the stats of an MVP, because if we're a top 4 seed, you're going to see the others step up a lot. And you can kind of just like, I don't want to use the word coast because obviously we're not good enough to coast at all in the regular season.
Right.
If you can just temper the Dame like usage rate is what I'm saying, then you could save him for some more meaningful basketball, because obviously he did everything he could in that Nuggets series and it still wasn't enough. So you can't ride Dame into the ground. You're going to need help from others. So
yeah, I think Chauncey, I think he might have mentioned something about that, about how he wants to have a team that is more prone to passing, obviously less ISO ball, wants more free flowing offense. And yeah, that'd be much more beneficial to Dame An 82 game season is an absolute grind. I mean, we know he's capable of doing it, but I think, like you said, to really max out the potential of this team, you need scoring and you need impact from other players, other positions, whether it be Simons, Grant, Nurk, Nas, even the bench guys. Like, you'd almost rather have Dame average like 20. You'd rather have 5 guys average between 10 and 20, with Dame, having 21 a game, and Dame having to score 30 a game on 40 minutes a night.
Yeah. I think that Dame, having him sit out the past year, he talked about that too. He's it was funny. A lot of people asked him like his perspective, which was just kind of a funny way to ask him just how he's feeling this year.
Yeah.
And he says he's itching to play. I mean, what else would you expect from him? But he has high expectations for this team. And I think that's good. Obviously, your best player is going to say that every time, but I think he's got a good reason. He's got a roster around him that fits him. And I thought he had a good press conference today, and he seemed like he's really ready to go, more than other years too. He even said that.
Yeah. I mean, I think even just kind of getting the general vibe on Twitter from the reporters after Dame went, they were just like, he just looked a lot more just fresh. He looked ready to go, and obviously that's a byproduct of him finally becoming healthy. Honestly, it might have been Nasir who said something about that. I think Nasir was like,
oh, he said, I wouldn't be surprised if he had his best season yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, more or less, but yeah, where is it? Oh, it might've been Nurkic. Oh yeah. Yeah. Also Nurkic said on Damian Lillard, he's probably the happiest he's been as far as health. It's really hard being with him every day to see that he's not 100%. So seeing Dame 100% now, it's a lot easier for him now. And while he's probably capable of playing 40 minutes a game, again, we're going to be smart. I think we have the depth this year. I mean, we won the Summer League championship. Do people forget this? I'm just kidding.
But we definitely do have the depth at guard, at least.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I think the rotation right now, like people who get minutes are going to be the starting 5.
With Nas in that starting 5.
Yes, I'm going to go Josh Hart. I'm going to go Gary Payton, Winslow. I think Drew Eubanks. I think that's your 9. I mean, I feel like Shaedon might get spot minutes, but I could definitely see Shaedon kind of riding the pine a little bit. Watford might get minutes actually instead of Drew Eubanks.
Yeah. And I think,
I don't know.
if I don't want to really dwell on this, but if you do have your trade pieces, the people that are the most expandable, probably the Justice Winslow and Josh Hart. So if, say, you use those 2 and go pick up somebody, I think then you see a guy like Shaedon, maybe that's because they trade them because Shaedon's ready to get in there and get some minutes, or even Jabari Walker, because like positional needs, Jabari Walker would be a really good player to have and have play positionally wise, but obviously a second round pick as a rookie, no matter how good he did in the summer league, you're not gonna have huge expectations for them.
Yeah, and the Blazers are typically known to not throw their rookies immediately into the fire.
Well, Chauncey kind of said that he's not gonna look at somebody just because they're a rookie, not gonna play them.
Right.
I think that's what Terry Stotts was, like you said, known for that. Like, he just saw, you're a rookie, I don't care how good you're playing, you're probably not gonna play.
Yeah.
But at least for the start of the season, I wouldn't expect anything from the rookies.
Yeah, it's a little off topic, but I just kind of want to ask you your perspective on this one. You kind of talking about how like Josh Hart, maybe even Winslow, can be some trade potential. Jay Crowder situation in Phoenix. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he'd be a good piece?
He would be an interesting pickup for the Blazers because he would fit a need of I think he's a little less of the defense now these days, but he brings the 3. He's a small 4, so I'm not sure he would be perfect for the Blazers. But the reason why I don't see it's not going to happen is because contract-wise, we would have to get rid of a guy like Josh Hart to get him, and I don't think you're getting the value unless you're getting something else back from Phoenix. But they don't really have anything else that they could trade, I would feel like. So while Jay Crowder would be a great pickup, it would be hard.
Yeah, I do like Jay Crowder. He brings like a tenacity on defense. He's kind of got that bulldog in him, kind of like PJ Tucker-ish. I feel like every championship team needs one of those.
Yeah.
Obviously you don't want to overpay for one of those though. You can find them. Like Trent Watford can play that role. I'm not in any way saying that Trent Watford is better than Jay Crowder. I'm just saying have that
He can
kind
grow
of
into that.
even like Justice Winslow. That's
Yeah.
kind of could do that. But yeah, I was just curious about what you thought about that situation over there in Phoenix. We do play them. It's our opening home game.
Yeah, you want it's funny because from everything I'm reading is Phoenix is the team with the bad vibes right now. Like Chris Paul said, he learned nothing from the Dallas series, which is just wild to say. I feel like Jay Crowder's asking for a trade. They said Booker didn't smile at all. So we thought the Blazers vibes were bad last year. Who knows? Phoenix could be on the brink of blowing some stuff up. Let's talk about Simons. I thought the most notable thing he said is he wants to be an all-star, which is me and Cody made a podcast on that when you weren't able to make it, and we were talking about how Simons has the talent. He's kind of like CJ, like he has the talent to be an all-star, but it's just so stacked up in the West that's probably not going to happen this year. But he could legit put up similar numbers to some all-star guards and get zero the amount of notoriety. Because the Blazers probably aren't going to be a top 2 seed to where they're not going to have 2 all-stars, and just because Simons at this point is still a kind of a hidden gem.
Yeah, Simons obviously broke out last year. Again, the argument for that is like, well, someone's got to score on a team like that. And while he did put up some impressive games, you definitely want to see it in a fully operational Blazers roster, fully functional roster. You definitely, I would like to see him push 20 points per game. Might be a little much, but I mean, if we're going to continue to be a team that's guard heavy in scoring, which we might not, one thing about media days, we don't get a lot of the basketball, we don't get a lot of X and O type talk. It's more just like vibes and how people are feeling, what people are expecting coming into the year. But yeah, I think Simons has everything's in front of him. I think he can make the All-Star team this year. Obviously things need to break right for him. But, a lot of the times when you're like a new guy trying to break into the all-star caliber type player, you kind of need a little bit of a narrative to push you along, and I think Simons kind of laid that foundation last year as like a breakout player. So I think he could.
Yeah, I thought that when he was kind of talking about him playing with Dame, he, similar to how he said in other podcasts and stuff like that, he again reiterated that he didn't say he plays differently than CJ, but he kind of indicated that because he was like, he plays more like Dame. Like Dame can facilitate and Dame can score, and so can Simons, and they both can play well off the ball. CJ, again, really needed the ball in his hands to really impact the game. I think Simons is much better in that. And Simons, I don't know if you saw the video of it, Simons looks tall. He looks like he's a good 6'4" now, maybe even 6'5". So again, all these guys are so young that we just look at our roster and we're like, oh, we brought back Simons, we brought back Nas, we only signed 2 players, but bringing back Simons and bringing back Nas is almost like bringing a whole new player because they're so young and they have that much potential that they could really, really break out this year.
Yeah, and from year to year, these guys are still developing. Obviously Simons is going to come back this year with some new moves, some new perspective on NBA defenses. Every game you play is a new opportunity to learn. So for Simons and for Little, especially, just getting reps like last year. I know Nas didn't get as many reps as Simons did last year, but I think those reps for Simons were invaluable in terms of just kind of seeing different. Because even last year we saw Simons, he started getting doubled. He started getting the Dame treatment. Like he had that crazy week, and then he started getting doubled, and his scoring went down a little.
Yeah, he talked about that.
Assist numbers went up.
He was like, they're gonna have to really focus on Dame, and I know I haven't played with Dame yet, but that's gonna play into me and help me obviously succeed a lot more. So I thought that was an interesting thing from him. Yeah. Gary Payton, he's a little banged up right now. So he looks like he said he's gonna be ready for the start of the season, but he had the same surgery as Dame, and so did Nas also, the core surgery just to clean some things up. But he seemed happy. He seemed ready to go. He's a fun personality to have on the team. And that was again proven in the press conference.
Yeah. I like GP too. I think he's going to do some good things for our team. I want to talk about Nurk. Can we talk about Nurk?
I'll talk about Nurk.
So obviously we all know Nurk was playing basketball for his country over the summer, and he talked about this. And he talked about how it was a good thing for him
That
because he
makes
feels
sense.
like he's already ramped up and ready to go. So I am excited for Nurk. I'm expecting big things out of Yusuf Nurkic.
Mhm,
I even
as well.
I wrote an article about 5 things that the Blazers need to do to have any chance of competing for a title. One of them is Yusuf Nurkic to play like a top 5 center. And that might be a lot to ask, but I know he can do it. He has the potential.
Mhm.
So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think this is, other than the year he got traded to Portland and the following year after, which was right before he broke his leg, like he was just the happy Nurk, the vibey Nurk, like it was Nurk fever. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that. I think
What a
this is
time.
the most like locked in Nurk we've gotten because he's finally got his new contract. He doesn't have to worry about that. Chauncey really, I think he's connected really well with Chauncey. He said that what I love is the honesty. One thing I really noticed with Chauncey from day one is not really any capping. He doesn't say stuff he doesn't mean. And
Yep.
I noticed that like Chauncey kind of has the same demeanor as Dame, and so does Anthony. Like they're all kind of have the same demeanor where like they're just
Yeah.
real and they are focused and
Stoic, a little
there's
stoic.
there's no BS about them. And I think Nurk obviously is really close with Dame. Nurk's getting close with Chauncey. Chauncey was out there at Eurobasket with Nurk for a couple games. So I think Nurk is in a really good situation, just like shape and health wise, and then
Like
also
mentally.
situation and mentally wise.
Yeah.
That I think that he's in for a probably his best season since he hurt his leg.
Yeah. That would be fantastic because we need a fully efficient, fully engaged Yusuf Nurkic. I like what you said about Chauncey Billups and like his demeanor because it is a good point. Dame and Chauncey, they kind of all have the demeanor, like you said.
I think even Jeremy too.
Yeah, I haven't been able to watch Jeremy kind of operate and act within the media or on the floor. Obviously, I didn't watch a ton of Pistons games, so I want to see how I want to see how he plays. I want to see how he carries himself, but obviously I'm expecting great things out of him. But Ant, Dame, and Chauncey, they all have this stoic demeanor, kind of this like, I'm just gonna get my job done, no BS. Like, we're on like for lack of a better word, we're on a mission here. That's a little cringe, but kind of that kind of in that vein somewhere. And then like you said, you have like Nurk, you even have like Josh Hart a little bit, who's kind of active on Twitter. You got Gary Payton II, you got these fun personalities. Not that Dame and Ant aren't fun, but I like the contrast. I like the different personalities within the team, and I think it has a chance to really gel.
Yeah. I think that Nas and Jeremy specifically really impressed me today at like just the way they handle themselves in the press conference. Like Jeremy, I even get that vibe off of what he like how he is on social media. Like he's just a super chill, down to earth person. And they talked about why he connected with Dame so well at Team USA. He said like Dame is like just real. He's a real person, and you don't find that much in the NBA. And I think just Jeremy Grant's personality specifically really connects to that. And then Nas, on the other hand, is just like I said, he looks like a vet and he's acting like a vet. And he was even like one of the reporters asked, like, well, you've only been in the league for 4 years. And he's like, well, 4 years is a lot. So like he understands what it takes and like just what the expectation is for him. So I keep saying I have high expectations for everyone, but that's because the vibes are good. So it's hard to not. I think the chemistry is really there. And when I say high expectations, again, I'm not saying they're going to be a 1 seed, but they're going to win more than what Vegas has them at 39 and a half games. So
40 wins for Portland.
Yeah, I put that in. So
you did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, nice.
A little bit.
A little sprinkle.
A little sprinkle, but just overall,
amazing.
I keep saying it. It's just it was a good press conference for the Blazers. Like the Celtics press conference today was a train wreck. I heard, with all the Ime and Doku stuff going on.
It's kind of out of the players' control.
So
that's tough.
It's good to have no controversies around the Blazers, no Dame rumors. No reporter asked Dame, "Are you gonna stay?" Dame, is this your last year? So that was fun.
Yeah, I think you could arguably say this is the best press conference in terms of like vibes, in terms of what people were thinking. And just not to throw on my negative Nelly hat here or anything, but it is just because you have a great press conference, just because you keep it real, just because you got a great culture, you got to translate it to into winning games at the end of the day. Um, it makes it easier to root for these guys when you see they're just real dudes who are down to earth, like family people. So I love being a fan of them. I'll be a fan of them no matter how many games they win. But for job security, like let's just be honest here. Like you got to win in the NBA. So I hope it translates to wins. So that's my cynical hat right there.
Yeah, and even I'll like just say some not concerns, but I mentioned it earlier. They seemed like they weren't like talking about wins a lot, which in a way kind of concerns me because obviously you want to win, but I maybe I'm looking too hard into that.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. There were a lot of talk on like, we want to build where, we have so much potential, we're more about
we got a lot of great young guys.
The cult, a lot of rebuilding talk. I mean, but if Dame wants to win now and he's got faith in the group, I know Dame has unmatched faith in every team because that's just who he is. But that counts for something. Dame believing in his guys.
Yeah. I want to quickly pivot to what Dwayne Hankins said.
What did Dwayne Hankins say?
He was more kind of less about like just the Blazers team in general. It was more just like the Blazers and like brand almost. He said that someone asked him about an All-Star game, if Portland wants to host an All-Star game. He said Portland hopes to be All-Star ready by 2030. They want to grow like the Rose Quarter, and they need to just like create more hotels and stuff, and they're starting to do that. But someone was like, do you think you want to bid for 2025? And he shot that down pretty quickly. He was like, 2030 is what we're aiming for. Portland was, they say Portland's not in a great like situation to host right now, but I thought that was interesting. It would be fun to host it in Portland. I don't know if that's ever happened. So
I'm not going to speak to that because I don't know either. But that would be really cool to host the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Because also when you host an All-Star game, the hometown players get a little extra love.
Yeah. Hey, in 2030, who's going to be an All-Star on the Blazers?
Okay, I guess you're wanting me to say Anthony Simons.
Is there going to be someone that's not on the team right now?
Probably.
Giannis?
Ooh.
Giannis will sign. No, I'm kidding.
Oh no, here we go. You ready? In 2030, it's gonna be Bronny James.
Bronny James.
Yeah. Yep.
With Bron as our coach.
With Bron as our owner.
With Phil Knight.
With Phil Knight, exactly. The Nike connection. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Another thing that was
sidetracked there
is I don't know if he said they are bidding or they're planning to bid. Portland's might bid for a WNBA team. So that was cool. Just more sports in Portland. They only have one major sports team here, and then they have the Timbers too, who I count as a major sports team. But
no, that counts more or less. It counts in Portland when you only have the Blazers. And hey, okay, if you're gonna name a WNBA team, what are you going with?
The Roses.
The Roses?
No, we have the Thorns. That was just this women's soccer team, the Timbers and the Blazers.
No.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to do with Portland really. It could be the Portland just some animal.
Just some animal. What about the Portland Axes? No, I'm just kidding.
Portland Unicorns.
No.
Portland Roses. No, it can't be the Roses because
too much. Too much. That's interesting though. I mean,
the Portland Bridges. There's a lot of bridges.
Interesting.
Or are they called the Oregon something?
They're gonna stay Portland.
Yeah. But I thought that was interesting. Just bringing more sports to Portland. The other thing,
it's a basketball city, so I'm cool with it. I'm cool.
The final thing that I want to say is the Blazers returned 85% of their season tickets. Not a number that I really care about, but he did say it was the lowest since 2012 and 2013. So
lowest.
Well,
that does not necessarily surprise me considering the atrocity that was on the floor last year.
Yeah, he said like the mix between us being a tanking team, and then people that, because they allowed fans to pause their season tickets during COVID, and this is the year they could resume them, and just some
The
fans just didn't resume them.
ramifications of COVID.
So,
Man,
and
damn.
Portland obviously like took COVID pretty seriously, so that doesn't necessarily surprise me, like you said.
Yeah, yep. That is interesting. 85% that's lowest in a decade, more or less. Lowest since Dame has been drafted. That's how I look at it.
Pretty much.
I got a question for you here as we kind of wind down a little bit.
Mhm.
Obviously, I didn't watch Jeremy Grant's press conference. I kind of think a lot of the discussion leading up to the year has been dominated around Dame and Ant in the backcourt. Can they coexist? It's been about Nurk. It's even been about small forward positioning and positions. Jeremy Grant, he's kind of locked to start at the 4. He's kind of just flying under the radar. I think people are just assuming he's going to be good. We need a big year out of him. So, what are your thoughts on him as a player? I mean, I know you kind of offered a little perspective on his personality, but just what do you think of Jeremy Grant and the black and the red?
I think, like I said, he fits the team in a sense with his personality and his style of play. So that's a good thing. Those expecting him to come in and an average 20, I don't think he'll be that. I think your scoring again is still going to come from Dame and Ant. And I think the third option on offense this year is probably more so going to be Nurk than Jeremy. I think that Nurk and Jeremy are going to have a great connection though, because a big thing that was talked about from Chauncey is they want to use Nurk more and use his passing ability more and have those guards play off the ball, similar to like a Golden State and Draymond. Obviously, Nurk is not on the level of Draymond when it comes to passing, but like similar to something of that. And Jeremy Grant was like, it's gonna be fun playing next to Nurk. Nurk is a great passer, and I love to cut. And Jeremy's probably the most athletic 4 that Nurk has played with. So again, fit, like these pieces fit really well. Now, a team can fit really well, like the Pistons might fit really well, but they talent-wise aren't that good.
Yeah,
I think
at the end of the day,
team
there's talent here. Need talent.
And it's got I think as the team looks right now, it has the talent of a playoff team and the fit of a playoff team. I think it has the potential to be a little better than just a playoff team.
What are you trying to say?
Not a championship team, but
like a second round team.
I think if you looked at me right now, I think we're going out in the first round.
The same old tune or the same old song.
But I think we have the potential to make it to the second round.
This just is like every other year, bro.
It is, but that was the
start of something.
That was
great.
The pinnacle, and this is like here. I don't think we're going to get worse next year.
Good take. Good take.
We have the young players that can just grow. So
what you're saying? So what you're saying here is 2019 Western Conference Finals. Obviously, okay. We'll say that was an insane run. I think we can say that run wasn't necessarily repeatable. So let's just say the peak was second round with the playoffs. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So
you're saying that's the peak, and you're saying in the first round is kind of like average. You're thinking first round's the floor.
Well, I think first round was the floor in past years too. Like, I don't think we were missing the playoffs, but basically what I'm saying is
that's fair.
We were always going to make the first round, and we saw that the Western Conference Finals, we had injuries break our way, and we had a pretty good draw with the Nuggets in the second round, given the fact that that was their first time ever being good. And the West in general was just not that good that year.
Now so stacked.
We had the great path to get there. Now we kind of have just reset our roster, and we're on the same level. It's just that this one could not go any higher. This one can get higher. Again, all things can backfire, and we could be a bad team this year, and things could go off.
We don't want that.
No, obviously.
No, we don't want. We don't want that.
Oh, the brand does not want that. We can't do 2 years of bad basketball. Year.
We need a good basketball team in Portland. Portland fans deserve it. Damian Lillard deserves it. Come on. So I think you can just tell by the mood we have on the podcast that this was a good day, a good press conference day. Blazer fans are all, we're always going to have this kind of like immediate confidence in our team.
Like even last year.
Even last year, we were like, oh, playoffs. I mean, look,
Well,
injuries
you
derailed.
you said Grizzlies,
Hey.
Blazers, 4-5.
Did I say that last year?
Yeah, that was last year.
You sure that wasn't 2020?
No, because 2020 or 2021 was the
Last year? No, that was the year before. Wow. Sheesh.
was Nuggets, Blazers. If they don't get PJ Dozier back, this is not a long series. So we've had our bad takes. That's why we've kind of tempered the expectations. And I think I've always had low expectations, but up until last year, we were perennial playoff team, and Dame could actually squeeze out 50 wins from a mediocre team.
That's fair.
So,
all right. How about this? I got a game. I got a game here. Here we go. Give me a prediction that is bold and could look like a freezing cold take in 6 months.
It is. I got to think here because I want to do something that's like, obviously I could just say the Blazers won a championship, but I want to do something that's like, achievable. Do you have one? Or are you thinking too?
I could tell you that I think we talked about this months ago, but we actually had a discussion about, can the Blazers have 4 All-Stars? Like, really?
That was hot take. Bad.
Yeah.
Mine would be that the
4 All-Stars would be something.
the Blazers are a top 4 team in the West, and the reason for that is because not only do they really only rely on one big, is basically what I'm saying. They play a lot of small ball, and that's the reason they're good. That could really be a terrible take, and we could end up trading some people at the trade deadline and it completely blow up. But I think that's the only way we're that good is if our small ball lineup works. Because I think we'll have success with Nurk in the lineup, but obviously Nurk can't play 48 minutes. And I hate to say it,
that is true.
Drew Eubanks isn't gonna do it for me. Spot minutes here and there, but
Oregon State.
Yeah, Oregon State alum.
GP too. We got the.
They play on the same team.
Beaver Bros. We got the Beaver Bros on Portland.
So I think that's all we have for. Unless you have anything else, do you want to plug any of your articles that are coming out for the website soon?
All right. Well, yeah, I guess I can do that. So I will do that. So as you know, website dropping in about a week, and I say about because we're fluid here. We don't have necessarily a set time, set date. We do sort of, but
we don't know when this podcast is going to be truly released.
Yeah. So about a week on that website, all the Blazer content you need. I mean, I'm talking about articles. I'm talking about YouTube videos. I'm talking about merchandise.
I'm talking about meeting the team.
Meeting the team. Are you kidding me? That's insane. But
you think it's just us two? It's more.
Yeah, it's more. I am in charge of writing the articles. I put out an article, or I've already written it, but it's going to come out when the website is released. It's called Damian Lillard, Legacy, Loyalty, and the Logo. I think you should check it out. It dives into Damian Lillard's mindset and why he is one of the most rare superstars in the NBA. You can probably guess it's because he's loyal, but you should still read it because it's very interesting. Yeah. Also got a few articles about the top 5 games. Obviously, everyone at Rip City Rundown here picked the top 5 games that we are most looking forward to. Finished that one up earlier today because I'm like that. And then, yeah, and got some more. As you see, my co-host here, Cole, is putting on a Rip City Rundown hat. Merchandise is going to drop, and I'm super excited because who doesn't want to wear Rip City Rundown gear? Who doesn't want to wear a shirt at a Blazer game or with your friends, and it says
not even at a Blazer
bad
game
shot right here, and
you could just buy the
definition.
The simple Rip City Rundown black shirt with the City of Roses and the skyline on the back. That's a simple Oregon shirt. If you're a fan of the city of Portland, come on.
Yeah, and who doesn't want to wear a drippy bad shot shirt? I mean, that just screams drip. If you ask me, oh my gosh, he's waving goodbye. Who's he waving goodbye to? You guessed it, PG and the Thunder. Yeah. So we're gonna do a pre-order for that. So I'm super excited because there's nothing like going to a Blazer game and seeing people not only wear your product but talk about your product, recognize you. We've had that a few times, so it's really cool. And what are you questioning?
Nothing.
You went like this.
Oh, I was trying to keep my hat on.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay, I gotcha. But it is really cool when you guys interact with us, when you guys help us out, when you guys take in and ingest our content because we truly love the Blazers. We know you guys do too. And our third co-host, Mr. Cody, is not here. He's responsible for the TikTok. Go follow Obsidian on
5K on
TikTok.
TikTok.
5K on
Claps for that.
TikTok. So that was a long plug, but anyway, back to Portland. You got anything else you want to talk about? He's got a marker. He's got a marker out.
No, there's nothing. I'm gonna write our record up here, and that's gonna be my prediction for the year. I think we go 44, 45, and 37. That's my record prediction. I've probably changed that all off season, but that's what I'll close out on. And we will be a top four. No, that was my hot take. So
I'll go
that's
40.
That's all I got.
I'll go 43 and 39, the 7 seed.
7 seed. I wouldn't mind having a little play in basketball, a little hype that.
I would. I just want to win a title.
Yeah, same. So that'll do it for the press conference media day review podcast
edition.
If you're watching on YouTube, give it a like and comment like which player you're most excited for, at least from the offseason. And if you're listening on Spotify, give it 5 stars. Go follow our social medias, links in the description, as well as stay on the lookout for our website coming in October.
Again, that bad shot shirt, I'm telling you, you buy that for your dad, he will love you forever.
Okay.
No, I'm just
dude.
No, I'm buying that shirt for my dad. Are you kidding me? You think 55-year-old guy walking around says bad shot? You know he is just living life.
All right, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bad shot. Bye.